Enough of this talk about the sinking playoffs. Let's talk NFL draft. For a lot of fan bases, it's already draft season. Dane Brugler dropped his latest mock draft. Where are the quarterbacks going? What's dominating round one? And a lot of teams with multiple picks that are going to boss teams around, I think, in the 2026 NFL draft on today's NFL Six Pack.
This is Locked On's NFL Six Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff, just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Love our everydayers. Seeing all the Spotify year-end lists with our podcast in there. Keep those coming at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Drop a question or a comment on YouTube. Get ready for this week's mailbag as well. We love hearing from you. This is your show as much as it is our show. So we appreciate all the listeners all year long, and thanks for making us the #1 sports podcast network here at Locked On. Today's episode of NFL Six Pack is brought to you by FanDuel, and right now, special offer for those folks on FanDuel. It's get in the middle of the action this season, and visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. Okay, Matt. Let's get into this. And of course, anytime there's a mock draft, anytime we're talking NFL draft, you're talking about teams drafting high at the beginning, and your team's usually drafting high because you got some weird stuff going on at quarterback. So let's start talking quarterbacks, and you can find the entire mock draft on The Athletic from Dane Brugler, who's he's kind of like the new Mel Kiper. He's kind of like the #1 trusted voice, the beast that he puts out every year, just doing phenomenal work. And so really appreciate the work that Dane Brugler puts into the NFL draft conversation all year long. And so we pay attention when he drops a mock draft, and he's got a big one here today. And it starts with quarterback, and it starts with
real quick before we get into it. I just want to give Dane a little credit because you mentioned Mel. I mean, I'm old enough and I'm such a nerd. I think I have every one of Mel Kiper's blue books, which started coming out in like 1980, and I would read them cover to cover and totally wear them out. There was no internet back then. Sit by the mailbox when that thing would come. But the Beast is kind of like the new version, and one of the beauties of Mel, who I'm not taking it away from, is there was nobody doing what he did then.
Right.
There's a ton of people in this space doing what Dane does, and Dane does it at least as well as anybody.
So it starts off with a bang. I love that. And we're going to track where the quarterbacks are going first. And the Cleveland Browns, who have multiple first-round picks, we're going to check in with teams with multiple first-round picks in a second.
Quite a few of them.
He's projected trades already, and he's got the Cleveland Browns flexing their muscles and going up with their 2 first-round picks and getting a quarterback at #1. So the Titans not selecting one. It's actually the Browns here going up to get Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, who ends up being the top QB here. And this is interesting because there's been talks about Alabama's Ty Simpson, Dante Moore from Oregon. Arch Manning was a lot of talk at the beginning of the year. Some people think he would still go #1 if he came out and he's had a better second half of his season than a first half of the season. I think he'll probably stay. He is not in this mock draft, which means Dane thinks he's probably going to stay as well one more year at Texas for Manning. Lenora Sellers is a lot of quarterbacks. A lot of them might go back to school, but Fernando Mendoza, when you compare him to some of the others, he's got a longer resume than a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah,
and he's like
starts,
tall and like kind of looks the part, and he checks a lot of boxes. I think is why he ends up being the #1 guy here.
Yeah, and I've not dug into these guys like Dane has, but trust me, I do a segment every week about Steelers and quarterbacks. So we've been really on top of the quarterback crew, and more so than most years. And I don't envy Dane. You kind of touched on this. I mean, there's so much money to go back that some of these kids may or may not come out. Some could transfer. Sellers could leave South Carolina. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to go back to school, especially with the failures of guys that don't have a lot of college starts under their belt. But I think it's real safe that Mendoza comes out. I don't know that he's a lock to be first quarterback taken, but he's certainly very much in that conversation. It's hard to say who he's even competing against. I assume most of our listeners know this, though, but I mean, this weekend coming up is championship weekend. So Indiana takes on Ohio State, which has a almost historic type defense led by Matt Patricia. And Indiana is not a typical powerhouse. Mendoza is a big reason why they're in this situation, and they're growing rapidly as a program, but a stiff test coming up on Saturday.
Indiana, I thought that was a basketball school. Suddenly, they're a football school out of nowhere, and this is going to be a fun draft season because if the Tennessee Titans earn that number 1 pick, they don't need a quarterback.
I say that's the story to me, is getting out of number 1 and getting a bunch of stuff. If you're
and so, does somebody present themselves as the guy that a team wants to make this kind of move and trade up for at quarterback that needs to jump a team like, the Raiders or whoever else might be selecting a quarterback early? The New Orleans Saints here are sitting at number 3, and that's exactly what happened in this mock draft with the second pick. And the second big thing, we got 3 quarterbacks here. We got wide receivers. We've got some non-traditional positions, and those are going to be sort of our 6 angles at looking at this mock draft. And we're not going to tell you everything that happens in this mock draft. You're going to have to go check it out and see all of Dane's work at The Athletic. But another trade at number 2 with the Raiders going up to get their quarterback. Everyone jumping the New Orleans Saints, who are at number 3 right now, which is why this is important for these teams to lose a lot of games and make sure that they don't get themselves out of the quarterback market. And, the New York Jets are a team now that's kind of putting themselves out of it if they wanted to get a guy early. And so a team like the Browns that has an extra pick makes it a lot easier. The Raiders at 2 going with Dante Moore, the quarterback from Oregon. We'll see if Dante Moore even declares this year.
Yeah. So you and I had a really good conversation a month or so ago. I'm not sure how long ago it was, but build the nest first, then go get the quarterback is kind of the conclusions we came to. And even since we've had that conversation, it's rattled around in my brain a lot. And I think more and more I'm a believer in that. So frankly, I would not condone the Browns or especially the Raiders. The Raiders might have the worst roster in the league. The Raiders and the Saints.
Not only drafting the quarterback, but giving up picks, right?
Giving up a lot to go get them in addition to where you sit already. Future picks, I presume. I mean, this isn't what the exercise is about. This is what the real draft is about. But I wouldn't like Dante Moore's chances of thriving in Vegas right now.
Well, if a veteran quarterback can't thrive, why would a rookie come in and just be like, "Oh yeah, this is
nothing to do it. I got it." Yeah, put the franchise on my back. Yeah,
bad line, weird coordinator situation. So that is, but it doesn't mean teams won't do it.
I said they're going to do it anyway.
Right? Yeah, the quarterbacks are going to go, and they're going to go high, and sometimes artificially high. The third and final.
Sometimes that's why you're picking high, because you're not a good, smart organization, and then you're doing dumb things. And right.
Exactly. Next, Matt, let's talk about the third and final quarterback in the first round of this Dane Brugler NFL mock draft for 2026. And I know you'll have a lot to say about this one next. Today's episode of NFL Six Pack brought to you by Aura Frames. What a holiday gift this is, and the holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on, and you're probably behind the 8 ball right now thinking, man, what do I get for so-and-so? And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. And man, it's the perfect gift for grandparents, parents, maybe newlyweds, anyone who loves photos, endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app. And you can get it all set up. Even if you gift it to somebody who's not technologically savvy, you can take care of all of that for them and upload new pictures of the grandkids every single time you get them. And the grandparents are going to love seeing those, and even some pictures pop up that they hadn't seen yet. So for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off the Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named number 1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code Locked On at checkout. That's Aura Frames, AURA frames.com. Promo code Locked On. It's an exclusive deal for listeners, so mention our code. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, here we go. Big one here with The Pittsburgh Steelers selected a quarterback. So quarterbacks go 1-2 here, and then some of the other quarterback needy teams pass on it for other positions. We'll talk about some of those high impact positions that are frequenting the mock draft world right now, and go down to pick number 14, which is where the Pittsburgh Steelers currently would select, and they go with Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson there. What do you think about Simpson? What do you think about a first-round quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And we do have a listener question. We'll get in a day early mailbag question here, Matt, because one of the mailbag questions from our listeners about the Steelers is, what do you prefer, going and getting a veteran quarterback, a Mac Jones type, or another quarterback, and then a first-round wide receiver? Or would you prefer getting a receiver elsewhere and drafting one of these first-round quarterbacks?
I think I prefer to draft one. I mean, it's been so many years since Roethlisberger where Trubisky, Wilson, Fields, Rodgers, just retread / not homegrown, although there was a Pickett thrown in there that didn't work out so great either.
Yeah, you don't want, it's worse to do the Pickett than the Aaron Rodgers from my vantage.
I agreed. Because you have a less chance to win now, and you invested stuff, and that first round pick could have been Rodgers' top receiver or whatever.
Yeah.
See, my problem is, and this is why I think the Steelers might be in the worst quarterback situation in the league, is if a lot of these guys go back and it's not as strong a quarterback class as many projected, and there aren't many veterans to go get. I mean, is it Kyler and Mac and that's it? I mean, usually it seems like there's more attractive options. Darnold, Daniel Jones, whatever, Rodgers. So I don't know what to think about next year's quarterback, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't see an easy path on December 3rd.
One thing I would say, if I was in charge of the Steelers, you don't want the 1 year guy. So if it's, and Michael, who asked the question, he put Davis Mills in there. It's like, Mills doesn't move the needle necessarily. Mac Jones I could buy because he's got first round pedigree. He's been a starter. You see how well he played this year. And to me, you at least, you would be trying to add a multi-year guy. Like, Mac Jones, you have to believe that you're going to give him a 3-year contract. It's not a 1 year kind of a prove it Sam Darnold and the Vikings type of a thing. If he plays well, you've got him for a while. And then you could re-up him if you want to at the end of that one. Or you go to the draft. But, a 1 year stopgap, Kirk Cousins or whoever, you can't keep doing that if you're the Steelers. But at the same time, you can't swing and miss in the draft either. And sitting where the Steelers are going to sit in the middle of round 1, or who knows, maybe even get into the playoffs and they're drafting in the 20s, you don't know that a quarterback's going to be there. So you have to decide some things before the draft happens.
So what I wish was happening, and what I thought was kind of the trend that was going around week 4, was Rodgers was playing well and you'd want him back and he may want to do 1 more year. Because then you could either draft one or wait a year. And Andy's familiar. Andy was playing well, but I'm souring on that at a rapid rate with the way he's playing the last couple of weeks. Now, he could change my mind Sunday and going forward, but he looks like an old man all of a sudden, and he doesn't look like he's thrilled to be playing. That, to me, would have been great, was, hey, Aaron, why don't you come back for 1 more? We'll probably draft a guy either in the first round this year or the next year, and you can mentor him a little bit like Love or whatever, and he can just hang out around you. Yeah. Because that would be the move to me, but that seems less and less likely.
Yeah, that idea is dwindling for sure. And, with the way this draft is going to go, and like, do you have to trade up for one of these quarterbacks? So even let alone the Steelers at 14 to 20 or wherever they're picking.
Well, they keep losing. Now they're at 14.
Well, now they're 14. Maybe they're going to keep getting higher and higher. But then there's even teams like the Jets who are at 7, and they have the same problem because they're not guaranteed that, you'll know who's going to declare before free agency, and you'll know how many quarterbacks are in the draft. You have a general idea, but there's no guarantee, even if there's 3 first-round quarterbacks, that one of them would get to 7, that you have to trade up. So forget about, 14, even 7. You really not exactly sure how this is going to go, and it might be really expensive to get a quarterback you're not completely thrilled about, and you have to trade up for the guy. So it's really interesting what those teams will do. where there's multiple teams in front of you that could draft quarterbacks in front of you, and you're not guaranteed you're going to get a guy that maybe you're not even like doing backflips about, and you don't want to do the Kenny Pickett thing again. So that tells me that probably some pretty significant move will happen before the draft for some of those teams at quarterback.
I think so too. And if you had asked me in the preseason or week one, what do you think about the same Steeler quarterback conversation? I would have said, I bet they trade this year's first and next year's first to get up to 7 or 8, draft a quarterback. The draft is in Pittsburgh, makes it double cool, but that's not why you should make business decisions.
That would be a pretty fun storyline. Right?
Yeah. And that would be the move. You kind of go all in. I just feel less likely that's going to happen. I thought there was going to be more quarterbacks to pick from. Klubnik and Aller and all these guys, Nussmeier, they're not as, I don't know who's even coming out.
So right around that mid first round area leads us to the next the next one in our 6-pack here, and that is the non-impact positions. There are a ton of impact positions that are drafted in this draft. We're going to talk about that next as well, where you got quarterbacks, you got edge rushers, you got a lot of wide receivers in round 1. The positions that traditionally you don't necessarily think are first round type positions: running back, safety, tight end. There's a few of those guys in this draft, and a lot of times their grade is higher, and you have a guy who goes, a safety who goes in the middle of round 1 who's got a much higher grade than the quarterback who goes in the middle of round 1. And there's 3 names I want to highlight here. It's pick 10. The Cincinnati Bengals go with Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State, who everybody raves about. I haven't gotten deep into the tape there, but it's one of those where Dane says, don't overthink this one, best player on the board, and you draft them, for a bad defense there. Even though the Bengals have had some weird stuff happening at safety over the course of the last few years, including first-round draft picks. Then you got Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame, running back, going the next pick, 11 to the Minnesota Vikings. Then at 13, it is Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon, to the Chiefs at 13, and potentially the heir to Travis Kelce over there. Tight end, running back, safety. What do you think there in the middle of round 1?
I can offer a little insight on the players. Downs is Josh Downs' brother, the wide receiver for the Colts, and he and Arvell Reese, who Dane has going 3rd overall as the first non-quarterback off the board, are probably the 2 best defensive players in this draft or in college football right now. And Reese is kind of like that Micah Parsons type. Downs, as any safety that gets in this conversation, really doesn't have discernible weaknesses from what I've seen. I mean, he's size, speed, smart, strong safety, free safety, probably even a better version of Kyle Hamilton, not as big as Kyle Hamilton, who fell to like 14-ish, something like that. I don't think I'd have a problem with it. I mean, especially the Bengals, if you're picking 10, it's a little different than picking 4 or 5. Just give me the best defensive player available, which he probably absolutely checks that box in a big way. I'm with you more and more about no running backs in round 1, especially if I'm not a particularly good team. Vikings would have to have quarterback a lot more figured out for me to condone Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I would 100% go safety or tight end generally over running back at this point as well. And we talked about this before. Tight end money might be some of the best money spent in the NFL.
Oh, it's a bargain
because of what they can do and where their yearly average contract rates are compared to wide receivers and other, because that's a wide receiver and it's an offensive lineman for you, right? And those are 2 impact positions, but yet we turn our nose up at tight ends for some reason. So if you are, but there's a lot of tight end busts too, because people draft tight ends for the wrong reasons, I think, at times. And I think you see that
or it takes them a while
at times. And it's those middle the field players. It's about instincts and about the neck up a lot more, and how you play and what role you're going to be in, more so than just pure athleticism, which makes the draft process a little bit harder. It's why people miss at quarterback so much as well. So just fascinating to see, if running backs go in round 1, is Jeremiah Love that guy, and he's going to end up like Ashton Genty and going that high in this NFL draft. And I would say avoid it, especially when you see a team like the Vikings making that move, and running back's not the problem.
Like, everyone's been putting out mock drafts for weeks and months, obviously. And when the Bears were like picking 14-ish, and I'd see Love go there. I'd be like, oh, okay. They already built their line. They got their quarterback. That's different to me than where the Vikings are at right now.
Yes.
Very different. Sadiq to the Chiefs, though, I mean, as Kelsey's successor, that's kind of fun,
Yeah, absolutely. And something's missing on offense there. So maybe that's it. And they drafted like a 3rd round tight end a couple years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, they've had a couple mid-round dudes.
Yeah.
No one seems to be taking the mantle and running with it.
But, Kelsey was a mid-round dude too.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's something to that. There's a lot of
mid-round
tight ends. Yeah.
Gadsden and Kittle and, right.
Anyway, that is the traditionally lesser valued positions in the first round. What about the more valued positions in the first round? 6 wide receivers, 6 edge rushers, and let's talk more about some teams that have multiple first round picks that might throw their weight around a little bit in the 2026 NFL draft. We're looking into Brugler's latest mock next. This episode of NFL Six Pack brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays, they move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game. You're in it. You're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You know when it happens, right? You feel it when you're watching football games. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot. A defense tightens up. Maybe a running game becomes unstoppable, or the momentum flips after a big turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility, every game. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, we talked about some lower impact positions, guys that get paid a little bit less, fewer guys get drafted in the first round, but teams are chasing quarterbacks. We talked about the 3 first-round quarterbacks here. You know who else teams are chasing? Wide receivers and edge rushers, and there's a whole bunch of them. There's 6 of each, so 12 total picks in this mock are wide receivers or edge rushers. And you mentioned Arvell Reese, and he's going to be like, oh, I'm an edge rusher. I'm going to work out as an edge rusher. I'm not an off-ball backer, because that's what teams want. Teams want edge rushers over off-ball backers. And man, how much has Micah Parsons helped other tweener types?
Really
success in the NFL, and you don't need to be 270 pounds anymore to be a top 10 pick as an edge rusher. So Arvell Reese, edge rusher, linebacker from Ohio State, goes to the Saints at number 3 after teams jump in front of them for quarterbacks in this one. Keldrick Falk to the Titans at 5 after they trade back with the Cleveland Browns. So big win for them. You got Reuben Bain, who in a lot of cases is a bigger, powerful defensive end, looks the part out of Miami, tends to be usually one of the top edge rushers and top 5 picks that come off the board. He goes 6 to the Commanders here. You got David Bailey out of Texas Tech to the Cards at 8. Looking at the end of round 1, there are a few more edge rushers. Let me scroll on down. You have Cassius Howell, Texas A&M to the Chargers at 25. And I believe there's one more at the end. Yeah, Clemson edge rusher to the Chicago Bears, suddenly 31 in this.
I know. How about that?
Drafts these days. Clemson edge rusher, TJ Parker there.
Yeah, I did not count on Bears picking 31, Patriots picking 32 on my dance card. That's
yes,
for sure.
Yeah. Imagine if you showed me this mock draft and they'd be, wait a second, are those trades? What? No, okay.
What? From what I understand, this is not a great blue chip draft in general. Like the tackles are good. I know we're going to talk about those guys too, but there's not Baselli coming out or Pace or Ogden or one of those guys.
Half of the tackles that we talk about in December, in April, they're guards too.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. But I also think if it's not real high, if it's not a real premium blue chip draft, might as well take a tackle, might as well take an edge. I think a lot of teams do that, where the guys that are going first round, no matter what, end up going top 8. And then the guys that are top 50, the teams that usually pick late, I would talk about this from a Steeler perspective. Like the Steelers have always historically been bad at corner and tackle. I'm like, well, they always pick in the 20s and the premium guys are gone. You know, like the Belichick Patriot era, you couldn't get a tackle at 30. So you take the 50th best player. It's the only way you can get them, you know, you reach.
Yep. Yeah, you do. And you see that in the draft. You see a lot of reaches for tackles, a lot of reaches for quarterbacks, a lot of reaches for edge rushers. And there's such a need for them, and it's so important. And it's all about the passing game, the passer, the catcher, the protector, and then the go get the quarterbacker, right? Like that's what you need the most. And that's what teams are chasing right now.
I would never really condemn a team that took a tackle too early. I'm like, I mean, at least edge rushers you could trade for parts. I mean, once in a while they move.
Yeah,
tackles, if they hit the open market, it's like our boys Jalen Moore and Dan Moore, like, and you're paying them $20 million. Like, I can't shop in that aisle
for a rotational tackle.
Right. I mean, you can't get them.
Right, and even if he plays guard for a little while,
so what? Right, yeah. Guards are getting more and more expensive too.
So 6 wide receivers as well. Number 4, how about the New York Giants pairing Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State, after moving down a couple picks, pairing him with Malik Neighbors. That would be fun for young Jackson Dart, and whoever the next coach is there for the New York Giants. At pick 7, you got Jordan Tyson, wide receiver from Arizona State, to the New York Jets. I don't know if the Jets really need wide receiver now. The look at where their team is, but they're in a weird spot there with no quarterback on the board, worthy of the number 7 pick potentially. Then you go to a run on wide receivers, maybe not the blue chip wide receivers in this class. Carnell Tate thought of as clearly the number 1 guy, the best wide receiver in college football, not even eligible for the draft this year.
It's typical, another Ohio State guy.
Yeah, Ohio State's probably pretty good this year, huh? I would imagine
they're not bad. Yeah.
Pick 21, you've got the Buffalo Bills going Denzel Boston. I like a wide receiver to the Bills here.
Sure.
It looks like it's a whiff from Coleman a couple of years ago in the high second round after they traded a little bit. Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston to Buffalo. You got the Niners at 24 going Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver from USC. The guy I actually like a little better for the 49ers is going 28 here to the Seattle Seahawks. Chris Bell, wide receiver for Louisville. Gives you a little bit more of that after the catch ability, has some size, has some speed, and then
boy, does he look the part, man.
Yeah,
he is big and rocked up. Yeah,
he does look the part. Oh, and I skipped the one at 26, which was part of that trade up with the Tennessee Titans getting an extra pick from the Cleveland Browns. That was the Jacksonville Jaguars pick from the trade down or the trade up last year for Travis Hunter, and the Titans at 26 take wide receiver KC Concepcion, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. So 6 wide receivers in this mock draft and a run in late round 1.
So again, the draft folks that I trust, you know, the McShays and Bruglers, et cetera, a lot of them weren't real excited about this wide receiver class early in this process, you know, before they start actually playing games this year. But all of them collectively are now really getting revved up for this group. So there should be plenty to pick from, and I don't think many of these are reach type picks.
How about the last note we have here, and the last big takeaway from Brugler's mock draft? Again, you got to check it out at The Athletic. Is the teams? There's a bunch of teams with 2 first-round picks, and last year we didn't have that. And I think it makes for a lot of fun, makes for a lot of trade possibilities. Teams going and doing what they need to do in the draft. You saw that with the trade ups here, and the Cleveland Browns using 2 of their first-round picks to go up and get themselves a quarterback, and then that allows a team like the Titans to go do things, and now they have 2 first-round picks, and they can make moves. But talk to me about the teams with 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these teams, and I think there's some that could create them as well. Like if Tennessee ends up at 1, trade back, end up with a lot of picks. I would love, I mean, again, it's kind of the conversation we just had, that some of these not so great teams, I would love to see them flood other positions, you know, particularly premium positions, edge guys, tackles, and then go all in later for the quarterback or, you know, cherry on top running back, things like that. But I think it's pretty interesting. I wanted to see real quick what he has the Rams having, because the Rams to me are so interesting in that Atlanta just keeps losing, and they end up taking Spencer Fano, the tackle from Utah, and Utah might actually have 2 tackles going in the first round if they both come out. That would be incredible. If you can get like a top 10 pick at the premium position for the Rams,
man,
and maybe still win the Super Bowl this year.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Number one in the power rankings, and you're able to get a top 10 tackle and don't have to spend anything extra to get it.
Yeah. And then they also have AJ Terrell's brother, a corner from Clemson. So if you get 2 premium positions, maybe win the Super Bowl, Stafford comes back next year. Oh, baby, you know?
And then you worry about quarterback and the replacement for Stafford, and you actually have that lineage and that line of succession that you talked about that you would love to have for the Steelers. The Rams might actually have that next year in a better draft class for quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, we're already at 5 or 6 teams that have multiple picks in the first round, and it wouldn't shock me if we end up with 6 or 7. You know.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. And a bonus, which I love when mock drafters do this, because those fan bases that don't have first round picks, you can still tune in to these mock drafts because he's got the first selection in round 2 for the Falcons, the Colts, the Jags, and the Packers that don't have first round picks in this mock draft. So there you go. Good on them.
I remember there were some years Dane had to do it for the Browns when they didn't have a first or second round pick for Watson. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
Pick 99. The Browns are going to get this guy. Like, okay, I'll believe you.
There you go. Tell us what you think. What is your team looking for in the 2026 NFL draft? If you are already in draft mode, and we're going to talk more about some of the matchups this week and make some picks for week 14, talk more playoff pushes as well. And of course, attack your questions on the Thursday mailbag episode. So get those questions in at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL in the YouTube comments. Subscribe while you're there. Thanks for making us your first listen every day here on the Locked On Network. And thanks for making us the #1 sports podcast network.